So the Donald Trump clown show continues, and I've got good news and bad news. So first, what's the good news? Well, Donald Trump is actually creating jobs. So what's the bad news? Well, the jobs aren't exactly where you think they're going to be. It turns out they're going to be in the UAE. So that was Howard Lutnick signing and shaking hands. He says, "We are proud to announce the US UAE AI Acceleration Partnership. Together we will build the largest AI data center outside the United States, powered by American companies and high-tech manufacturing. America is leading the global AI revolution, and we're proud to have the United Arab Emirates as our partners." It says, White House announces AI data campus partnership with the UAE. Yes, that's the United Arab Emirates. And basically they're building this whole AI campus thing. And as you guys know, Trump's been touting this crypto stuff, AI stuff, robotics. He doesn't know a thing about it, but yet he's promising you all these jobs. But again, they're not necessarily going to be in the USA. On top of that, which is kind of an interesting one, they announced before they're going to try to send more chips to the Middle East. And there's actually been some concern and pushback from Trump's own people, right? MAGA people are like, yo, why are you sending chips over there? I thought we're all about, making America great again, that kind of stuff. As it turns out, these chips may or may not be used by China because China also has relationships in the Middle East. And this is a way to essentially kind of launder chips, if you want to call it that, because the general idea would be we don't necessarily want U.S. chips or U.S. technology getting to the hands of the Chinese military or, other types of factions that may be counter to the interests of the USA. However, from Trump's point of view, he's like, hey, as long as you write those checks, I'll keep making those deals. And I've been shaking more hands than anyone in the history of the world. Have a take a look at this.
Jennifer, I'm sure that you saw that last night. I shook more hands than any human being is capable of doing. That was a long deal, and they were big people. But they were starving for love. Because our country didn't give him love, they gave him a fist bump. Remember the fist bump in Saudi Arabia? He travels all the way to Saudi Arabia in that case, and he gives them a fist bump. That's not what they want. They don't want a fist bump. They want to shake his hand.
And then on top of that, I told you guys in the last video that Trump is actually upset at Apple for not bringing back all those manufacturing jobs to the USA.
And we have Apple, as you know, it's coming in. And I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday. I said to him, Tim, you're my friend. I treated you very good. You're coming in with $500 billion, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. You can build in India if you want to take care of India.
In fact, Apple's looking to India, so is Elon Musk and Tesla. And again, you got the good news. Well, jobs are being created, but the bad news, not necessarily in the USA. And I know we talk about this stuff and it makes MAGA people all sad. They're like, but Chris, Donald Trump promised me to bring back all those manufacturing jobs, and I just always say good luck with that. Here's the thing, guys. The U.S. economy has moved on. It is a different world than it was in the past. I understand Trump wants to turn the clock back, and he's just always talking about, oh, let's go back to 1870s, or let's go back to 1913. Like, for real, he really does say this stuff. And it's like they want to just roll the calendar and roll the clock back, but that's not necessarily how the way it works. And part of what you have to understand if you want to understand markets or sort of our U.S. system is it's all based on growth, meaning that for the markets to move forward, Wall Street's always looking like, okay, where's the next growth? Where's the next, wonderful, great opportunity, et cetera? How can we keep pushing up profits higher and higher? And so part of what our economy transformed, as you guys know, is we basically ship jobs overseas. This is American companies. So Trump always tries to blame other countries, but there was no one forcing, companies like, say, Apple or whatever, UK, Nike, and sending jobs to other places, because essentially these companies were looking for cheap labor. And then essentially the bargain was, right, a part of the economy is the Americans will focus on the services, the Americans will focus on, retail, Americans will focus on design, these kind of things, and then we'll have other places basically manufacture our products. And Americans got really wealthy off of that kind of stuff. And so I understand, guys, not everyone necessarily benefits in these kind of things, because you say, but Chris, but I feel like I've been left behind. Guys, I understand that, but the economy has changed, and essentially what you have to do is update your skills to match the current needs of the economy. Now, the thing that's going on right now, though, is that we're facing a slowdown in growth. because one of the challenges that we have is essentially you have a finite world, right? And how can you have unlimited growth in a finite world? Well, it's unsustainable. I mean, there's only so many more places that you can grow, and also too, there's only so many people that the planet can support.
It's jobs, because to me the most important jobs. I want jobs, and we have costs are way down. Groceries are where they have a term, grocery. It's an old term, but it means basically what you're buying, food. It's a pretty accurate term, but it's an old-fashioned sound. But groceries are down, costs are down, eggs are down. They were first week they were hitting me with eggs were up 200%, and now they're down to a number that is amazing. We're down 97, 98% from where they were. And everybody, they said, you won't have eggs for Easter. Well, we had everybody had eggs for Easter at a very reasonable price. At the White House, we had our little Easter egg roll, and we had hundreds of thousands of eggs purchased. They said, you have to go out and buy plastic eggs. That didn't work out.
And then on top of that, Elon Musk is like, yo, we're going to build all of these robots to replace all of these people, because like, who likes people? I don't like people. I want my robot buddy. It's like, what? And, you know, for me, all of this stuff, this is AI hype and things like that, is a scam. I think it's way overhyped. And then the other thing that's really concerning is where we're building these data centers and all this, you know, AI hypey stuff is in places where there's shortage of water. And if you guys know anything about data centers and all this technology, you need water. So like, why are we focused on building, you know, AI in the Middle East? Well, they want to transform their economies, right? That's what they're all about. They're like, hey, you know, we know that the oil isn't necessarily, you know, going to last forever. So let's have FIFA, let's have golf. Golf's another one actually that Trump's involved in, and that takes a lot of water as well. So like, a lot of stuff to do is just like frankly nonsense. But I understand that is the Trump world. It's all about the nonsense. And this is sort of what we have to deal with.
And the job you've done is second to none. You look at this, it's so beautiful. As a construction person, I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto. And just a great job you've done, and what a beautiful place. And we appreciate those camels. I haven't seen camels like that in a long time. And that was some greeting. We appreciate it very much.
We also have an interesting announcement from Meta. They're delaying their AI models.
Internal concerns about the direction of its multi-billion-dollar AI investments. Company engineers were reportedly struggling to significantly improve the capabilities of its behemoth large language model. Shares taking a leg lower on this because obviously Meta and many of these other companies have poured enormous resources into this. In particular, Meta's planning $72 billion in CapEx this year, a large chunk of that on data center build out.
But basically, it doesn't work as well as they thought it was going to work. And employees at the company are really concerned, and so they're not going to release it. And this actually reminds me of, say, when companies pledge to give you, you know, billions, maybe even trillions of dollars over 5 years, over 10 years. No one knows what's going to happen 5 years down the line or 10 years down the line. That's why you have to always talk about this stuff as being, frankly, a bunch of smoke and mirrors. And then on top of that, and this is about, again, understanding markets as always the search for growth in a finite world, you have to come up with ways to please shareholders. So, for example, Coinbase may or may not have been lying about how many users that they have. So that's been reported today. The headlines were right here. SEC investigating whether Coinbase misstated its user numbers. So do I know if they misstated them or not? I don't know, but is there a possibility? Yes, absolutely. Companies can certainly do that. Coinbase is an interesting one because it also represents sort of the bubble market that we're in. Recently, they were added to the S&P 500. The stock went to the moon, if you guys have been following that one. And it just came out today, and then the stock sank a bit, that they had like this major hack.
Hey everyone, I want to make you aware of a disturbing email that we received recently at Coinbase. It was a ransom note demanding $20 million in Bitcoin in exchange for these attackers not releasing some information they claim to have obtained on our customers. Now, we like to do things transparently here at Coinbase, and so I'm going to respond publicly to these attackers by saying no. We are not going to pay your ransom. In fact, I have a few next steps in mind that I'm going to share at the end of this video. But for the rest of you watching, wondering what happened, we did an investigation here, and these attackers have been approaching our overseas customer support agents, looking for a weak link, someone who would accept a bribe in exchange for sharing some customer information with them. Now, our support tools have limited access to customer information. There was no passwords or private keys or funds accessed as part of this. But customer support agents do have access to personal information like name, date of birth, address, etc. And attackers still want access to this information because it allows them to conduct social engineering attacks where they can call our customers, impersonating Coinbase customer support, and try to trick them into sending their funds to the attacker.
If you don't know what Coinbase is, basically it's a trading platform for crypto. I'm not into crypto. I understand that many people are. If you don't know what crypto is, it's basically a big Ponzi. That's essentially what it ends up being. People get in early, develop these, awesome monkey coins or doggy coins or gorilla coins, whatever you want, and effectively, I build this thing and I get a bunch of people to buy into it, and then you make money if you got in early. And then the idea is that everyone thinks that they're going to be the genius and they sell at the top, right? That's what everybody thinks. That's the plan, but it doesn't always work out for everyone. And then on top of that, you've got this Walmart, which I talked about in the last video. They basically said prices are going to go up, right? What's going on? The Trump tariffs. You guys know this. And again, companies are always searching for growth to please their shareholders. And so when taxes hit, you just pass it on to the consumer so you can maintain your profit margins. That's how this game is played. Trump's trying to tell you, well, guys, you're going to have all this short-term pain. I know, but I'm awesome. I'm Donald Trump. I care about you. And let me get my $400 million jet. While he's in the Middle East, basically, again, building data centers out in the desert with no water. How does that make any sense? Of course it doesn't. And I think a lot of this is sort of representative of where we are. The Donald Trump, the Elon Musk, and this technology that may or may not ever work, and we may or may not have enough power, and there may or may not be ever growth on this stuff. So that's what's going on. I want to hear your thoughts. I do appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.